right, I want to find out this now. Mo Pitori, ne? So what we say, how fitla mo Pitori? What was like my cultural shock nya no magato e marakan mo Pitori berela dilo so then ko ke tlhango ding hu re halang. What was the first things that kana di magaditseng go fitla mo Pitori?
I was still so young.
Yeah.
I just didn't understand why no one spoke Venda. I was just like, okay.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I was young. It was like maybe 2001. I was like, yo, no one speaks Venda here. That's really crazy. And I was visiting my mother.
So can I go like a Pitori? I don't want you to say someone think that they were saying.
Aksa si teacher.
No.
Alexa Subulel. Mara.
Yeah. Mo Pitori, lo se mo Pitori so. Yeah.
Hey, it is cool. Fair. I'm thinking now. I'm thinking recording Pitori.
Yeah.
It's gonna sound really bad.
Don't worry.
I'm gonna lose my street cred, guys.
I wanna die there. Sawar.
Yeah. What was the other thing that shocked me? I think the freedom that young people had to be naughty. You know, we used to run from school because I spent a year here learning. We used to like walk home even though we had money for transport.
Yeah.
And Neretamaka come out like through these dodgy alleys and we'd press intercoms and then run. And it's just not something you're not going to do back home in the village.
Yeah. Oh yes.
No, you're not gonna do that. Yeah, it was. I don't remember well, but like, wow, now I'm really thinking about my childhood.
But those were the best times, right?
Yeah, they were the best times. Yeah, it was quite different. But now, I can't see if I can still claim to be a Praetorian.
You are.
Beautiful sounds appropriate for this Sunday afternoon, man. That's Muneyi coming through with the beautiful banger there. Merry-go-round. Oh man, I know. Like I'm already going round already here, me myself going round because the song says merry-go-round Matandis. Like yeah, I love how we the authenticity, the voice, the sound. This is just proudly South African.
It is proudly South African music, right? And just to go over, how are you, Muneyi?
I'm good. How are you?
You look very rusty.
No.
Hey,
he sounds like how I feel. We'll just leave it at that.
That's not a nice thing to say. I'm just tired.
You're tired, ne?
There's just been a lot of festivities, especially with the release, and a lot of excitement. And yeah, I was out last night at 340 Mil celebrating their reunion tour, so I'm a little tired after all that singing.
Yeah, I think Daddy T said he resonates with you. But anyways, let's tap into your childhood. So, you say you were raised by your grandmother in a naturally like a religious home, right?
Yes.
So how did that shape your worldview in terms of music?
I think firstly, like since the music is informed by the way I live my life and how I view the world and my beliefs, growing up in sort of like a religious neutral household meant I could believe anything and everything without feeling like this is bad, this is good, you can't do this, you can't do that. From a religious point of view, obviously. And then, growing up, then you choose what you actually want to follow. If you want to be Muslim, if you want to be Christian, if you want to follow African Christianity. But it just sort of gave me a wider and a broader perspective on life and people. Because most of what I sing about is people-centered. I'm writing about how people feel. I'm writing about my observations of people, the feelings that they don't want to talk about, the feelings that I want to talk about but feel like people don't actually want to talk about. So it just gave me an avenue to really just see the world as a much broader place than the narrow view I would have had, say maybe if I'd grown up viewing the world through one narrow lens of maybe, for example, Christianity or another religion.
Yeah.
Beautiful stuff indeed, man. And you would say you're from a musical family, and maybe who are some of the people that you, when you were just at that young age, you were looking up to musically?
I mean, I'm not from a musical family, not really, but my grandmother is quite poetic. So she's always singing, but there isn't like a musician that has come out of my immediate family, except for my father's older brother, my uncle, but I'm not really connected with that side of the family that much, but he's like the one musician that I knew, but he makes gospel music. But I think it's just something that's already, that already existed within, the lineage, even though there wasn't an avenue for those people to express it, but particularly my grandmother, because I think if she had lived in a time when she had access, or if she lived maybe closer to the city where she could see people being musicians or writers or even poets, I think she would have been one of the most amazing musicians that would have been celebrated. But there wasn't a mainstream commercial musician at home that I was looking at.
Yeah.
But my grandmother still is my biggest inspiration. And the people I grew up listening to were mostly on the radio. You know, my grandmother had one of those turning radios because we didn't really have power at home until I was in my mid-teens because it's all the way in the village.
Yeah.
So we were listening to Para Para FM.
Yeah.
And they'll play Angelique Kidjo, Kajanin, Colbert Mukwebo, who's from Venda.
Okay.
And all these other artists, like I guess Mafiki Zolo and Malaika.
Yeah.
So I grew up listening to those people, but I sort of then like carved my own interest later. Like when I'd visit my mom here in Pretoria, she'd be listening to Sade.
Oh,
My sister would be listening to Simpiwe Dana, Thandiso Mazwai, Nora Jones. So yeah, it was like I feel like all the music I grew up listening to wasn't particularly like music I would have chosen, but it's music I grew up to love. And even now, these are some of my favorite musicians. Yeah.
So what did your family say? I'm going to do music. Look here, family, I'm doing music and nothing else. Music, not being a doctor, because we know vendors as being big on education.
I mean, it wasn't like that. I went to varsity in 2014 and I enrolled for a microbiology and chemistry degree.
Okay.
Like other vendor people.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
You know, I just had to follow the right channels. But I dropped out after qualifying for all my modules because I wanted to prove that I'm not dropping out because I failed. But I knew if I had also written my exams, my first year final exams, I would have stayed in university. So I dropped out and then I just took a gap year. I told my grandmother that I wanted to really just think about what I wanted from my life. And she, you know, I remember she was in the field working when I got home, and she cried and she was just like, "Oh, you're gonna ruin your life. Why are you leaving school?" And I said, "No, I'm not leaving school. I'm gonna go back."
Yeah.
So then this was in 2014. Then in 2016, I went back to university, and because I'd always loved storytelling, I wanted to study sort of moving pictures. So I studied film. I did a degree in film and TV, majoring in communications as well, because I also just felt like I wanted an avenue that's different to the one I'm talented in, to sort of then express myself beyond just singing.
Yeah.
And I waited until I graduated to actually put out my first single, because also again I didn't want to look like I was deviating from this path. And again, I think if you're a vendor person, you will go to school.
Yes.
You will study something.
Yeah.
So I had to do that first.
Yeah.
But I wanted to study things that would make sense in my world. Because if you're studying communication, then you understand sort of how the world communicates, I guess, from a media point of view, just also from a psychological point of view. And also I love documentaries. I love storytelling as a whole. So it speaks to the work that I do now, because if I'm not singing, then I'm scoring for film and for adverts and yeah.
Awesome stuff, man. In case you're just tuning in, we hang out with Muneyi, speaking all things music, you know, his life and everything else that inspires him as an artist and how he, you know, comes through with his craft of music. I mean, I just love the conversation we have. This is not an interview, by the way. It's just a conversation we're having.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. So can we talk about, you know, the maturity of your fans, the maturity of the people that you cater for, as to how you maneuvered from when you started and where you are now?
I do feel like it's still the same people. I think I've just added people. So I think when I put out my first single, part of my rollout, because I was doing everything by myself, I didn't know much then. A friend had dared me to put out a song. I had planned to, but I thought maybe it was going to happen in a more traditional way, where I would maybe like have a distribution deal, but it didn't quite work out like that, especially because it was just early on in my life. I was still just fresh out of varsity, didn't know much. So when I put out that single, I asked people what broke their heart, and I expected, you know, to get responses around like, "Oh, my boyfriend did this, my partner." But then I was getting really intense stories that had nothing to do with romantic relationships, really. I think people were just sharing from a place of like the love that we experience as human beings as each other. And I think one story that really moved me was, you know, when someone mentioned that, like, you know, they saw their mother being, you know, killed by someone, and that sort of like, it was a little harsh, you know.
Yeah, it was.
So, and I'm saying this to sort of like show the support that I have and the type of community I have. So then the first shows I would put on, again, the age range was, I was expecting people my age or younger, but it was always the grown-ups. So I'd say for my first project, which is Makhulu, the album, it attracted a lot of grown people who wanted that sense of nostalgia, who knew or who felt like, oh, they were raised by their grandmother, who sort of like resonated with the sound from a specific time, and also maybe feeling like maybe that there isn't enough music like that right now, which is sort of old sounding. And when I put out my second project for the boys I like, it attracted their kids. So people say, oh my gosh, I've always known you. My mom goes to your concert. But, but now I really like this. Now I really like this project. And I'm curious to see what the project that I put out on Friday, who is going to speak to. But, but I've been getting a lot of messages from people from all sorts of age ranges, the grown-ups and the young. So yeah, that's sort of the range.
Clever.
Beautiful stuff. I love this, man. Amazing things indeed. We still hang out with Muneyi right here on Cape City's number one, just gone 14 after 2 o'clock. We're going to break into some break. We're going to take a break, brother. And when we come back, we continue our conversation with our guest this afternoon. Speaking all things music and where he sees himself the next 2 days, not 5 years. We put in pressure here. Let's pay some bills. We'll be back with more after this. Guessed it right. You're wondering who's the beautiful voice of man. When we say proudly South African music, that's what we mean. That's Muneyi coming through with What Do I Do? What had happened? What do I do? Tell us the story, Red.
When I make music, I forget that people are going to ask questions. Now, it's awkward. I was just asking this person that, like, hey, listen, I like you, you like me, we've been doing this thing. I've told everyone about you, and now you want to go. So what must I do now?
What's what happened?
Because it's embarrassing now.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna ask, okay, man. No.
Hey,
So that's pretty much the essence of it. But then that's my part of the song, because I feature Kozo Zwane and Tando Zide. So Kozo sort of like speaks to this part where he's saying, maybe we were not having a thing that was as serious as you thought it was. That's why he says, your heart was far too eager. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And then Tando's part, when Tando comes in, I think she's sort of like bringing like a third experience that, there was never any love here. You think the love was there, it was little, you had a lot. I just don't think there was any love, because the way this person is acting, they're showing you that there isn't any love. But I think ultimately we still ask, ourselves where things went wrong. It's just about, it's just that initial phase of someone leaving you where you feel like your whole life is going to fall apart.
Yeah. So like you've made like collaborations with like, big artists, right? Msaki, Madjozi. So what did you learn from that collaboration, and how did you incorporate their sounds into your music?
I mean, the people I've collaborated with, these are people that I've always loved and sort of looked up to in a way, because I love what they're doing. Msaki particularly, I've always loved her songwriting. I think she's one of the most brilliant songwriters I've encountered, and I listen to music from all over the world. Okay. And also just her ability to be vulnerable, but also still be fun and melodic, because sometimes people feel like they have to sacrifice one for the other. It's like, oh, if my music is lyrically charged, then the actual music, the melodical part of it will slack. If it's got a good melody, then it's going to have weak lyrics. And I feel like it's always so strong, whether it be the melody or the lyrics. And with Show, unfortunately, people won't get to hear the song because,
why?
It never got signed off by big money people in a big world. But it was so fun. I think also just, we were friends first, and this happened sporadically. We were just hanging out. But I think the biggest lesson from these people is how they take their craft really seriously, and they're constantly trying to honor themselves while making art. I think there's this view that people make for the audience, and it's not primarily true. The more I encounter the musicians that I really love and watch them make music in the spaces that they make, and the more I realize they're just making music for themselves, hoping that you'll resonate, and I think that's been my biggest takeaway. Because I will say, after making my first album, I was sort of, then people love this. Oh, we love this song. Then you must ask yourself, should I then make other songs that sound like this? But I got disillusioned really quickly. I was just like, I'm going to make music that I like. And if you like it, then we can rock. Yeah, if you don't, that's okay. You can play the first music that you like. Yeah, and it's not even offensive. Yeah.
All right, I want to find out this now. So what we how fitla mo Pitori, what was like my cultural shock nya no magato e mara kan mo Pitori berela dilo so then ko ke tlhango ding hu re halang. What was the first things that kana di magaditseng go fitla mo Pitori?
I was still so young.
Yeah.
I just didn't understand why no one spoke Venda. I was just like, okay.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I was young. It was like maybe 2001. I was like, yo, no one speaks Venda here. That's really crazy. And I was visiting my mother.
So can you go like a Pitori? I don't want you to say some of the things that they were saying.
Aksa see teacher.
No.
Fluent
Mara.
Yeah. Mo Pitori, lo se ke mo Pitori so. Yeah.
Hey, it is cool. First.
More the capital.
I'm thinking now. I'm thinking Horekoring Pitori.
Yeah.
It's gonna sound really bad.
Don't
I'm
worry.
gonna lose my street cred, guys.
Ah, una dai there. Una dai there. Sawar.
Yeah. What was the other thing that shocked me? I think the freedom that young people had to be naughty. You know, we used to run from school because I spent a year here learning. We used to like walk home even though we had money for transport.
Yeah.
And Neretamaka come out like through these dodgy alleys and we'd press intercoms and then run. And it's just not something you're not going to do back home in the village.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
No, you're not gonna do that. Yeah, it was. I don't remember well, but like, wow, now I'm really thinking about my childhood.
But those were the best times, right?
Yeah, they were the best times. Yeah, it was quite different. But now, I can't see if I can still claim to be a Praetorian.
You
at
are.
all.
Is your mother still in Pretoria?
Nah, yeah, she is.
Pitori.
Yeah. Which am mama zala around.
This is a question like build a young like business ya how, creativity ya how, like khona beyang in terms of food it's a serious.
Ke khona beyang. So business le product haditswan.
Sure.
Ne?
Yeah.
So where business is concerned, you have to really be strict with yourself. And I always tell people this, Hore, the biggest lesson in business is the money that comes into your account is not profit.
Yeah.
You know, that's just,
That's
it's
so real.
You know, there's economic terms for that and business terms for that. I guess, it's understanding that when the money comes into your account, whether you've sold maybe the cheapest say 3, ka 5 rand, half 5 rand they feel as a profit your whole.
Yeah.
I can regular stock.
Yeah.
Since unsa stock or
Yeah, transport or
taxi, and then how fetsa mo hona le profit asia how you yeah, so it's just understanding the simple, like the basic principles of money, but also understanding that the lessons and the money skills that you have now, when say you're making 5,000 rand, if they're bad, you're gonna apply them when you make 5 million.
Yeah.
You know. So I treat my business like corporate, Mondays we have status meetings with the people we work with. We're getting back to whoever we didn't manage to get back to on Friday. We're following up on invoices, yada, yada, yada. Tuesdays, more admin. Maybe we're then reaching out to other people for whatever it is we're doing. Wednesdays, I think those are like invoice days. We're sending out new invoices for confirmed work.
Okay.
And yeah, Thursdays, we're just final checks. And if there's a show over the weekend between Friday and Sunday, we're making sure that all the correct people that are needed are hired and they're confirmed and all the admin is done. And Fridays, I like to take it easy. I think by like 2 p.m. we've closed. But I know the lady that I work with likes to work until So also, yeah, that's a fun part, I guess.
Yeah.
I have a nice boss, so I can knock off early.
I know.
Muneyi is a nice boss.
When I grow up, I want to be just like you. It's just gone 27 minutes after the hour, 2 o'clock, man. We are closer to wrapping up our conversation with the one and only Muneyi, who's speaking all things music. Now we're going to be closing off with your song, Mana de Luto.
Manya de Luto.
Manya de Luto, man. That's Portuguese. All right. Just give us a little story behind this.
I'm with my friend here in studio.
Yeah.
And this song is dedicated to our
shout out friend.
To our mutual friend who passed away due to a motorbike accident. And him and I used to go to Mozambique quite a lot. And this one time we went there and he had to come back early. and he wanted me to bring some beverages for his dad, and he sent me this voice note that you're gonna hear in the beginning. But it's ultimately just a summary of our friendship together, and you know, the fun things we used to do, the cheapskate trips we'd go on together. And I was just trying to remember him by writing a song, and memorizing all of that. Memorializing his memory.
Let's pay some bills and then we're back with the song after this. We definitely are hotter like a heat on, man. It's just gone 30 minutes after the hour, 2 o'clock, and we're doing our goodbyes to our guest. And before we shut out with this song, Manya Deluto, I just want him to tell you, in case you know, if you want to buy the music, because the music is coming out this Friday, the 21st.
Out already.
Friday's Human Rights Day, right?
Already.
That's Human Rights Day, right?
It's out.
Is it the 21st?
It's out on Friday.
Oh, it was out this Friday.
on Friday.
Oh,
14th, yes.
Oh, Friday, not this Friday.
No, it came out on Friday. The music we've been playing just came out on Friday.
awesome. So this is like exclusive, right?
Very, very
It
exclusive.
is.
Very.
Love it. So how do people, get the music?
The music is on all streaming platforms for now. There'll be vinyls later. And they can find me at Untitled Basement on the 27th of March. I'm doing a duo show with Luduzo Makatini. And on the 29th of March, I'm playing at, I forgot.
Wow.
Zule. Jazz in the Lights. Alongside Ditumo. So it's going to be beautiful. Yeah.
People must just pull through and come through.
They must check the socials for updates and all of that.
They should do that, man. Oh, Muneyi, thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you for
And
having me.
family, as long as we family, everything that you do, let us know so that we know what's going on with
Thank
you.
you.
All
Thank
right.
you for the love and support.
Yeah, we know you had a hectic day, man, but I mean, you make time for us.
Yeah.
we feel so special right now.
Also,
We appreciate Rofstan. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Muneyi, and we're gonna play out with this beautiful banger here of Manya Deluto. I know you're gonna love it. Just start writing down the lyrics on a piece of a paper so you can sing along. Ning ning, holy one, kai kai. It's a beautiful one.